Fuck your ass, make you humble.
Yes, this is yours truly, Execution. I got an epic and a special guest here tonight. And I want to show you guys a picture real quick. Maybe you guys remember this guy. What a beautiful time to bring in Halloween.
Are you ready? Do I look like I'm clowning around? Things are gonna get weird! Get ready. It's time to get weird. You're Warlord of Weird, Sinn Bodhi.
Look at that face!
I don't want to look at that face.
Look at that! As he's looking at that hand.
My third ex-wife had that face. He's talking to his own hand. What is wrong with this man?
Oh! He chokeslammed himself!
Right.
And on the apron
What is going on here with the Warlord?
Oh my goodness!
Oh!
Sinn Bodhi. We got him right now. Let's get him in. Let's not waste any time. Let's get him on. How you doing, Sinn?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, man. It's a pleasure to have you on here. I'm doing well, too. How's the weather out there?
It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Fans, if you don't know, this is the Executioner. Did his show, Freak Show Wrestling, out in L.A. It was fun. One of the best wrestling shows I've ever been in. One of the best. Yes. And I appreciate you booking me to do the show. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah. Man, I don't know where to start, Sinn, but if you can let the fans know a little bit of the background of where you come from.
Well, I was born on the island of Canada. I like long walks on the beach, full contact Yahtzee, and rice pudding. So that's about it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
And I like wrestling. Wrestling's pretty cool.
Oh, so back in the day, who were you? Who was more of your heroes back then?
It was Jake the Snake, Piper, Macho Man, Mr. Perfect, guys like that. I was totally a Piper guy, totally a Jake guy. Growing up with Edge and Christian, Edge was always a big Hogan fan. And so I always just naturally kind of gravitated to Piper and, all that kind of stuff. And the villains always were more intriguing to me. I think you dial into a Batman movie, not for Batman, you always want to see who the new villain is and all that stuff. So I think the villain is kind of what makes the good guy relevant. So I think there's a lot more layers to the bad guy. And it's a lot more fun, especially if you're halfway a nice person in real life. It's fun to be the bad guy in a wrestling match. So it's kind of a cool departure from reality and all that jazz.
Yeah, that's, man. Hey, wrestling back then was way better than watching today. To be honest, I mean, back then it was more believable. It was more. It had more of a. It was more into the fight, more into the characters of them fighting. It was awesome. It was awesome back then.
You know, I mean, everything evolves, and you know, wrestling is different now, and it'll be different, you know, in a few years from now, and all that stuff. But I try to kind of evolve, and I try to roll with the punches, just in life, let alone in wrestling, and you know, and be adaptive and all that stuff. And there's definitely things I really loved about the '80s that may or may not happen so much now, and then there's new innovative things that are happening now, some of which I like, some of which I'm like, meh, you know. But I mean, that's the wonderful thing about pro wrestling. It's sort of like a big buffet, you know. We've got just something for everybody.
Right. Speaking of pro wrestling, how did you get in started? I mean, what made you get into the sport?
I loved wrestling, and I loved comic books when I was a little kid, and kind of wrestling was the real life extension of comic books, you know, superheroes and supervillains. So just sort of seemed kind of one and the same, and I was intrigued, and I was a shy little kid. I never thought I would be a pro wrestler, but you know, the future proved otherwise. So.
And who trained you? How did you get trained?
I got my basic training from Ron Hutchinson, the same cat who trained Beth Phoenix, Edge, Christian, Trish Stratus. I was in the same beginner class as Trish Stratus and Gail Kim. He's just trained so many guys. Joe Legend, lots of wonderful wrestlers. And then I kind of left the nest, and I just traveled around and just got experience anywhere I could, and just traveled all over the world. And I'm in that weird sort of unicorn age of where I'm old enough where I wrestled a lot of those dudes from the 80s. So I got to reap the benefits of a lot of their sneaky tricks. Right. And then, but I'm still young enough where I can still hang with some of the young cats, all the young cats. And again, I'm sort of I'm one of those guys. It's like that bridge between then and now. So like, I don't look at myself as an old school guy or a new school guy. I'm sort of Jeet Kune Do. I'm water. I adapt. You know, water can free flow and take different shapes, and you know, water can smash rock and whittle through the cracks. It can crunch down, or it can be smooth. You know, so I feel like a very adaptive creature, and I think that's kind of one of the things that I really bring to the table.
How long have you been wrestling?
This is my first day in the wrestling business times 23 years, and before that, I was a 41-year martial artist.
Okay.
Started martial arts when I was, I think, 7 or 8.
You're pretty dangerous with them hands, man. That I know. One other thing. Your gimmick, the characters that you've done in your career. Which one do you prefer that you like the best? As a, you know, you was what, Kizarny? And now you're
well, I mean, it's all just versions of me, you know, like it's like same as like, you know, Undertaker or Chris Jericho, you know, whether it's Y2J or Corporate Jericho or Lionheart or, right, you know, whatever version of himself it is, you know, whether it's the American Badass or the Phenom, or, you know, he's in his cowboy outfit or his devil outfit or his biker outfit or whatever, his Undertaker outfit or like his Mortician outfit, still Undertaker, you know, just different versions of him. So, you know, you go through life as you go through wrestling, and you just, you know, your tastes change and different things amuse you, intrigue you. And I prefaced this whole interview, by the way, with squeaky toys and dogs barking and chickens clucking, because that's my household. So that's just going to be par for the course. There's not much I can do about it. My dogs and my chickens, they don't listen to me, so they're all heels. They do what they want.
Yeah, that's animals, man.
My dogs always, every time I do a podcast or something, my dogs always find the loudest squeaky toy they can get, and they put some heat on it.
Right. Another question that a friend of mine wanted to ask you, and, you know, I said, fuck up on it. They wanted to know.
I'm married, sorry, bro.
They wanted to know who was the best top 5 wrestlers that you've wrestled, like that you can wrestle over and over again.
That I have wrestled, or that I want to wrestle, or
that you have wrestled and that you want to wrestle. So.
Oh well, I mean, it kind of goes without saying that a lot of those dudes from the '80s, I mean, they were just expert craftsmen, you know. Like, I mean, I've been in the ring with the Rock and Roll Express. I've been in the ring with Bobby Eaton. I've been in the ring with the Road Warriors and Jake the Snake and Jerry Lawler and all these dudes. I don't know if you get any slicker than that, you know, as far as the modern day dudes, you know. But I mean, I came up with all those guys like at OBW. I was in the ring with Ziggler and Kofi and Bulldog Jr., Harry Smith, and Damian Sandow, and just the list goes on and on and on. Just tons of great wrestlers. So I mean, there's just so many smooth dudes, you know, in the ring, and then just over the course of your career, you kind of end up wrestling. You know, people think my shtick. I always kind of giggle. I'm kind of a jerk about it, especially when young indie guys or whatever come over like, I like your gimmick, sir. And I just kind of look at them like, what gimmick? You know, what character? Like, it's me. You know, like I'm a legit circus dude. I'm a legit, you know, all that stuff. You know, so it's just me all dolled up for the prom. It's just me in my bunny slippers and my clown paint, but it's still me. I'm a legit circus strongman, sideshow freak, all that stuff. I'm not just some a-hole that went to the mall and painted up his face and said, hey, booga booga, I'm a wrestler. Like, I'm legit. So everything to me that I do is pretty organic, and I really try not to be, you know, flamboyant. It's still me, just with the volume cranked, you know. So I always appreciated whether it was people say character wrestlers, and like, we're all caricatures of ourselves. Like AJ Styles is as much of a character as Boogeyman. It's just one who's just visually more flamboyant than the other, but they are both caricatures onto themselves. Like, you know, AJ in real life is AJ Styles with the volume kind of simmered. You know, Boogeyman is Marty Wright. Marty Wright is the Boogeyman just in real life, just with the volume simmered. I'm pretty sure he doesn't go to the grocery store in his face paint chomping on worms, but it's still the dude, you know? Still a badass bofo. Wherever he goes, he's still him. So I think the 80s guys really had that organic thing licked because they were all legit and crazy, and they all were pretty much in gimmick 24/7. Like, that was them. Like, that was Macho Man. That was Jake the Snake. That was Honky Tonk Man. That was, you know, Ric Flair, et cetera, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson. You know, like, Ricky and Robert are just two of the slickest, you know, dudes ever. They kind of remind me like Billy the Kid. They just know how to get themselves in and out of situations, and they're slick as an oil spill, you know. And I think wrestlers these days, whatever their style, you know, high flying, serious, comedic, strong style, whatever that is, you know, all these different things, you know, just to tackle it organically, I think is the trick. And I think those 80s dudes really brought that. So I would say, like, yeah, I mean, some of the younger, I know when I say younger guys, and I'm talking about like guys that were in my bracket of like, you know, your Kofis and your Damian Sandows and your Zigglers and just a ton of different dudes like that. You know, there's so many guys, you know, that were slick. But then, you know, again, being in the ring with your Bobby Eatons and all those kind of guys, Ricky Mortons and stuff, and Jake the Snake, just such a different experience. And then the third sort of level of that, I guess there's 3 or 4 levels. There's the next level is like, well, the guys that you really kind of linked horns with over the years, like Gangrel and stuff like that. Gangrel would be kind of he's been my tag partner. He's been my opponent. He's a good brother of mine in real life. So too, when you like each other, you kind of dig a little meaner on each other. Like, I'm going to a match with somebody that I know is going to be this prissy little prima donna. You know, I work very light. You know, I work very safely. But at the same time, I'll work extra, just handle somebody with kid gloves if I know they're going to be a little crybaby or something. You know, but a guy like Gangrel, who is just a dude's dude, you know, I'll take care of him anyway. But just knowing that, okay, we're brothers, so if we dig into each other just a little bit, it's all good, you know.
And I saw that match between you and Gangrel. Sorry for cutting you off. That match between you and Gangrel and the psychology that you guys have.
See, my dog's a big Gangrel fan. So.
But it's so real and so believable with your guys' match. It's like clockwise. You know what I'm saying? 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2. I mean, you go all the way around until you get back to 12 again, and it's going on. You know what I'm saying? So
Like I had that everybody was saying, like, so I known LA Park for a long time. We've been on shows together, but we wrestled like 100 years ago. And then we just recently wrestled at PCW Ultra, which is an awesome show. So good plug for them. I'll be back there in a couple of weeks they have this awesome Ultra Vault, which is like a giant cage, and it's going to be loaded with all sorts of weapons, and there'll be guys like Hammerstone and Shaft and me, and then a surprise guy. So there's always great stuff. So at this PCW Ultra, I wrestled LA Park. Known him for a long time. We respect each other. So we dug into each other pretty good. And all the fans were like, man, you guys beat the crap out of each other. Holy moly, I mean, the same ballet as we say, so, it's safe where it needs to be safe, and it's brung where it needs to be brung. And as long as people are walking away with smiles on faces, then mission accomplished. We live to fight another day, mission accomplished. It's always like that with Gangrel. Like you get in there tagging or fighting them. It's a war, but we're brothers at the end of the day. We'll hug and shake hands at the end of the day after we've really teed off on each other. Yeah. So I think when you have that rapport, then you can really kind of go give the fans a little extra. Like I really try to put out, and I never phone anything in, but when I'm in there with somebody I love, I really try to give them just even more. Like I try to give them everything on the worst of days. But on the best of days, boy, oh boy, is that even more fun,
Right. And, another thing is, another guy I really liked and I was watching was you and Funny Bone. My God, you guys have
I can't hear you.
Funny Bone. Funny Bone.
Yeah.
You and Funny Bone have some good psychology matches, too. I mean,
yeah, he's a fun opponent. He's a fun tag partner. We love to hate each other. He uses the word frenemies. Makes me laugh. It's kind of like a little brother where, like, it's fun to pick on him, but you don't like other people picking on him. It's okay for me to beat him up, but I'd rather tag with him and not let other people beat him up.
Yeah.
But he is a fun guy to go back and forth with, and he brings it. I think we've had some pretty solid, fun, entertaining matches, and we know how to push each other's gas pedals, and that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an awesome, good worker, man, in that ring. He's good.
Ugly as hell, but
yeah. But he can move though. He's pretty fast. When I was in the ring with my boy Face and that other Disgust, we did that 666 tag team. Man, he did that kick at the end, and man, it was so soft. Like I thought he was gonna just kick right through me, man. But he made it look good. I did one hell of a bump.
I get that funny. I get that silly complimentary insult all the time from like young guys that I wrestle after the match, and they'll go, not to like kind of peel back too many layers of the curtain or anything, but I'll get guys go like, man, I thought you were going to beat the shit out of me, and you were like the lightest wrestler I've ever been in there. They're like, yeah, I know how to work, motherfucker. Like all y'all young dickheads need to figure this shit out, And as a player coach, I'm happy to kind of help guys kind of, fine tune their craft like that. Like I don't have all the answers, but I got a lot. I know a few things. I know a couple things about a thing or three, so there's tricks of the trade. Again, it's that, it was the benefit of working with a lot of those dudes from the 80s that were just smooth as butter, so, to give that to the younger guys, I think it's kind of one of the gifts I can give the younger guys. Pay it forward, because guys did that. The old timers did that to me when I was the young whippersnapper, and now that I'm the old fart, it's easy. It's nice to give that back to the younger dudes.
Speaking of the 80s, have you ever wrestled, or do you have any stories to tell about the Iron Sheik?
Yeah. I get along with the Sheik. I know his nephews. He's got two twin nephews that are longtime buddies of mine. We're all from Toronto. The twins live in Toronto. They have they do shows up there still to this day. And I remember, I think the first time I met Sheik, I watched him wrestle, when I was younger, but I was on a show with him for the first time in Toronto. This was a long time ago. Couldn't tell you what year. It was early 2000s. And the twins were kind of having this feud with each other. And then she came out to kind of sort them both out. And I remember him stacking them both and putting them in a double camel clutch. And it was just funny to be in the locker room. He was just a funny dude, a cool dude, And I was on a few shows with him over the years, and I remember I'm going to guess and say I think it was like Lake Erie, somewhere around, somewhere like, just outside of Buffalo, not too far. So Lake Erie, somewhere in that area. I think it was. I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering correct. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast, so for me to remember exactly where their show was is a bit of a stretch. But this was a few years later, and he was already in a wheelchair, and he was doing an appearance there. And he was talking about like, hey, for the right payday, he'd get up and wrestle, and this made me laugh, just thinking like, man, these old school cats are like, they're invincible. They're just selling. I bet you he could probably do 10 backflips coming right out of that wheelchair if the price is right. Yeah, but open heart surgery, he'll kick out and put somebody in a camel clutch if the right payday was there.
Put it in the camel clutch. Put it in the camel clutch. Put it in the camel clutch. I fuck your ass and make you humble.
Fuck your ass and make you humble.
Put it in the camel clutch.
The camel clutch.
Put it in the camel clutch.
The camel clutch.
Put it in the camel clutch.
The camel clutch.
All right, yeah, that's enough of that. That was just a little video that we
did. Pretty awesome.
Have you ever seen that before, though?
I have not ever seen that before, but that needs to be on a top 40 somewhere.
I feel you, man. I feel you. So do you have any, is there any more freak show wrestling out there? I mean, a lot of fans want to know where could they...
So you can watch some of it on YouTube, on Freak Show Wrestling. If you just type in Freak Show Wrestling as one giant word. But the problem with Freak Show Wrestling is, like, I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love it. And I have a lot of episodes edited and ready to go that just I never uploaded to YouTube, because when I was doing a lot of those shows earlier, juggling a bunch of hats as the promoter, the producer, one of the wrestlers, it just, being a cameraman or being a video editor just was something I didn't know how to do at the time, which I can do now. But it just, as you learn different things along the way, and with everybody's got iPhones now and stuff, and kind of superseding that, we're on these video tapes and just different cameras and having adapters and this and that, and hunting down decent video editors or great editors but didn't have too much time in their schedule. So I was always sort of at the mercy of different people's schedules and whatever. And then I really sat down a few years ago and really edited a bunch of the stuff, and then literally kind of what just sort of seemed as like overnight, there was this just different social veil that just blanketed the earth, and all of a sudden humor was kind of illegal. Everybody's just so upset about every last little thing, and I just thought, when we did some of those bits, everybody in the arena would laugh and have fun and boo and cheer and do everything, And now I think I just don't think a lot of that stuff would read as funny these days. Like if you were to watch Eddie Murphy doing Raw or Delirious now, everybody would cringe and just be so upset. It just wouldn't be funny by modern day whatever, but back in the day it was hilarious, it just, but different times, different strokes for different folks and all that stuff. So I think hopefully maybe one day when humor is not illegal and people just lighten up and just learn how to relax and just have a joke, maybe I'll dig it all out of the vault and put it up, because there's some really great stuff, and there's some awesome athletic matches, there's some hilarious pushing the envelope comedy and all this kind of stuff. But I think right now the social landscape on planet Earth, let alone wrestling or otherwise, it's maybe not the right time to unleash from the vault's Freak Show Wrestling stuff.
And that's one thing about professional wrestling. It goes with the modern day time. It never leaves. It just keeps on going with the modern day time. So
sure. Well, if you look again, going back to Iron Sheik, when I was a kid, Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov and Freddie Blassie, are running around being super duper villains and getting all sorts of great heat, and the good guys always look extra good when they're against such great villains, And then they tried something similar with trying to think of his name now. I met him; he was a nice dude. I'm just trying to think of Muhammad Hassan or whatever it was, where he had the turban. He was an American. I think he might have been American born, but he was doing basically kind of like the Iron Sheik shtick.
Yeah.
And he just got all this heat where he was pretty much like he couldn't be at shows. Like they just like I think they kind of had to let him go just because he was just doing what they asked him to do. But I guess the social climate had just changed where it's not like, you know, Ivan Drago from Rocky or Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov or you know, or Baron Von Raschke. Like you can't do any of that kind of stuff these days because everybody just gets so bent out of shape. You know, realizing like that's what wrestling is. Wrestling is life's protagonist. Like whatever's going on, you know, politically, socially, in life, wrestling sort of parodies and, you know, turns that into superheroes and supervillains. And now everybody's just so upset at everything. You know, it's just, you know, especially with planet Earth having so many different crises on their hands, this crisis, that crisis. You know, geez, I think we need to kind of lean on humor just to sort of keep our sanity whilst trying solving said crisis after crisis.
Right. And you know something, Sin? I mean, who would be the if it was your retirement match? Let's say, who would you want to wrestle, and why that person? If you wanted to retire,
Probably Trudeau. Probably Trudeau.
and why is that?
Because he's the Prime Minister of Canada, and I'm not a fan.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's so many guys that I love in the ring, and I would take care of them, and so many guys that I would love to wrestle Edge in one hand because he's my absolute brother, but at the same time, he'd be the last guy I'd ever want to, you know, wrestle or fight or hurt. I mean, you know, I think I'd rather tag with him or help him out, you know, when Judgment Day is being too much to handle, especially when Christian is at the other company and like, hey, well, I'm a free agent. I could show up at AEW. I could show up at WWE, but he's my brother, and I'd take a bullet for that guy. So why wouldn't I want to offer my services to tag with him? But I wouldn't want to fight him. You know, he's my absolute brother. He's as close to me as my blood brother. You know, my biologically related brother. He's just as close. You know, but where somebody that I just have disdain for. You know, there's not a lot of wrestlers that I don't like. You know, so if I had to have some big wham bam finale match, I mean, I'm going to ride this till the wheels fall off, till my arms and legs and head falls off. I'm going to get in a wrestling ring. You know, I'm going to kind of do it like Ric Flair does. You know, and
I don't even think he's done yet.
Yeah, he's not done. He won't be done until his ticker starts kicking. You know, and I kind of feel like that, and I think I'm creative enough where I can. You know, maybe eventually, you know, when I can't get it done in the ring, maybe I could be a manager. I certainly can go back to promoting and doing Freak Show Wrestling, or just being a producer or an agent at WWE or AEW or Impact or wherever, you know.
Still be in the wrestling business regardless.
Yeah, like when I coach, I do seminars all over, and, you know, I'm kind of like a player coach. So I can smooth out guys and stuff, say, hey, a little more of this, a little less of this, easy on this, more of this, you know, blah, blah, blah. Kind of like the Bull Durham of sports entertainment. You know, every week I wrestle meat, and I smooth them out, good guy or bad guy, and give little tips and little suggestions and this and that, and kind of give back to, you know, to the sport. I give back the old school wrestling stuff and little knowledge and tidbits that I accrued through the 80s, like through the rest of the 80s guys. You know, give it to the sports entertainers and stuff. So that's kind of my way of paying it forward to the craft sport industry business that I love.
Yeah.
But as far as getting down and just crunching on somebody, yeah, it'd be Trudeau. You know, the Prime Minister of Canada. Yeah, what a douche. I'd like to get him in that Ultra Vault. So, hey, so Sheik from PCW, who books the talent. Hey, if you really want to make this sexy clown happy, then book Trudeau in an Ultra Vault match with me. I think I'll take that. I'll do that for free. I could die a happy man after I slap that guy around.
Man.
I don't say anything online about, you know, politics and all that stuff because I don't want to, you know, I just believe in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Be kind, be excellent to each other. You know, I don't care, you know, whatever you like. I believe in freedom of thought, and I believe in exchanging ideas and stuff. And I think there's awesome ideas on both sides of the aisle. And I think that people, you know, with empathy and strength need to help other people and be good to each other. But I sure would love to slap around Trudeau. I can say that 'cause I was born in Canada, so but I live in the States. I love both countries. But if I had a villain that I could really kind of sink my claws into in a ring for one last finale and never ever to step foot in the ring again, it would definitely be Trudeau.
And you know, Sinn, another thing is I really like how you helped out Jake the Snake, man. You and DDP, you guys really
DDP did the heavy lifting. I was just sort of I was kind of the comedy relief of that whole thing. Like DDP, really did the heavy lifting on that, and me being the younger guy, like, so Jake and DDP are similar in age, where I was kind of like the little brother to that situation and stuff. The silly little Mikey likes it little brother, So that's an old reference, that's an old serial reference.
Yeah, and hey, Jake the Snake, man, with that DDP, that was a deadly move. I remember on Saturday Night Main Event when I was a kid, man, watching him and Ricky Steamboat, and he did that DDT on that concrete, man, and man, Ricky Steamboat just went out, and you see Jake just literally picking him up and throwing him back in the ring and did the finish on him.
Yep. I remember vividly watching that as it went down when I was a kid. I was sitting on a couch with Edge and Christian and this little other dude named Sean. We was at this kid named Sean's house where we always would kind of gather and watch Saturday's Main Event and all that stuff. His parents let us get away with bloody murder, so we were always over there, and we would always try to stay up late, keep our eyes like pinned open, like literally, just so we could watch the show. And I remember sitting there, and Jake came out of nowhere and DDT'd Steamboat. And I remember Edge and Christian, we were all teary-eyed, and we were just little kids, and we're like, oh no, that's terrible. And I just remember looking at those nerds and going, no way, man. I'd rather be that guy giving that DDT than taking that DDT. While they were cheerleading for Steamboat. Yeah, they were cheerleading for Steamboat. I'm like, I'm going for Jake, man. I don't.
But when he hit his head on that concrete, you see Ricky Steamboat just bow. I mean, his whole head went bounce back up and down.
I like Steamboat a lot. I'm a big fan of Steamboat. I know Steamboat. Steamboat was one of my coaches at FCW back in the day, which was the farm team for WWE. I moved around in the ring with Steamboat. Like, he's an awesome dude. He's one of my childhood heroes, but I was definitely a Jake guy.
Yeah, and hey, you can never trust the Snake.
That's right.
You don't know which way he's going to go. And that was a good. He had to gimmick on that. I mean, he played the hell out of that role.
Well, again, that's him. That's organically him, just with the volume crank. Like Aurelian Smith and Jake the Snake. That's the same dude, just with the volume crank when you're surrounded by ropes and turnbuckles.
Yeah, man. But Sinn, I mean, do you have any tours going on right now? I mean, are you?
I'm gonna go pretty soon because I got to get ready to go to the airport. I'm flying out to. I literally just flew in yesterday, ironically, from the same city I'm flying out to tonight. I just flew in from Denver, doing a kind of a comedy fight on a TV show, and I'll put the link up when I get all that information, when that comes out, when it's edited and comes out and stuff. I did this funny. It's like I don't know how to describe it. It was ridiculous, even by my standards. It was like a gender reveal party where me and this wonderful comedian friend of mine, Shane Hartline, who was also always a repeat guest on Freak Show Wrestling. So we wrestled. We had this comedy wrestling match in front of like legit all these little kids and parents that had no idea, and they filmed it kind of like on the sneaky, and it's edited in for this TV show. And so we come barreling out of this pink blue box, and I'm in this pink singlet, and Shane is in this blue singlet. So I'm team girl and he's team boy, and we're gonna duke it out and see. And the guy that's like the host of the show, it's his legitimate, gender reveal party. He has no idea. Like, his wife knows by accident, but he has no idea. So he knew that we were gonna do what we're gonna do, but he had no idea what the finish was. So I won't wreck it for everybody that's gonna watch Dude Dad. But needless to say, there was a finish, and they did find out if it was boy or girl. And so this was filmed just outside of Denver, and it was really fun. And then so I flew home last night, and then I was doing a bunch of stuff around here feeding my chickens and hanging out with my wife, feeding my dogs and cats and my snakes and my tortoises. I got this big giant tortoise that's about the size of a lawnmower, so he's pretty ridiculous. And now I got to fly out to go do 3 days of shows for Rocky Mountain in Denver. I'll be out there with D'Lo Brown, Josh Matthews, and all sorts of other awesome performers. Sledge will be on the show. There's all sorts of good dudes. I'll be out there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I want to say PCW Ultra the next weekend, and FSW, Future Stars of Wrestling, same weekend here in Vegas. So there's going to be some awesome performers on both those shows. I think Carlito's coming in to Future Stars of Wrestling and a bunch of other dudes. It's going to be really awesome. And yeah, so there you go. So yeah, busy. And in between that, I've wrestling school and put my little toy orders out. Like in my spare time, I custom make those little LJN custom statues. Sort of, it's kind of like a parody of those 8-inch rubber wrestling dolls when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Again, me and Edge and Christian would damn near pistol whip each other with those toys. You know, that was kind of our first idea of how to book a card or whatever. You know, arguing over who's going to go over. You know, Iron Sheik or Corporal Kirshner or Greg Valentine or whoever we had, Paul Orndorff and stuff. Depending on the cool poses or the crappier poses. Like, as much as I love Jake, never put over Jake, because how's he going to DDT anybody when his arms were up like this, you know? Years later, I would rib him about that. I'm like, what were you thinking? How are you ever going to DDT anybody with your little rubber arms up like that? He's like, brother, I don't know. I was a fucking marketing guy. I didn't fucking do it, you know? And yeah, so just between that and just being a husband and a dad and having all these critters, teaching wrestling classes and doing, you know, I'm kind of a jackass of all trades, so I just got my minutes are full up every day, which is, I guess, a good problem to have. So yeah, so I pretty much in a couple minutes I got to go. I got to get ready to head off to the airport.
Well, Sam, I appreciate you coming on. I know it was a short time, but next time maybe we can have a full hour and have.
Sure, I'd love to.
Shit.
I'd love to. I've got to catch my flight, so I'm sorry.
Yeah,
well, I don't want
I appreciate it, man.
Of Denver, and I don't want to, disappoint the Rocky Mountain fans and so forth. So, but yeah, we can do this anytime you want. No problem.
All right, Sin. I appreciate it, and be safe out there, man, and kick ass.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you, man. It's been way too long.
All right. You have a good night and have a safe flight.
You too. And anybody that wants to have me on a show or have me do a seminar or anything, just hit me up. I'm accessible. I'm on all the different social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Sinn Bodhi, SINN BODHI. And there you go. And in closing, I will leave you with this. Be safe, be smart, be kind. Lots of this.
Warlord of Weird. Not his first carnival here. Oh my goodness. No, he's not doing this.
What the hell is that?
Does he have that firework tied on?
ISIS! It's ISIS! No, it's not. Oh my God! What the hell is happening?
Put you in the camel clutch. Put you in the camel clutch. Put you in the camel clutch. I fuck your ass and make you humble. Fuck your ass, make you humble.